Hey everyone, Niv here, and welcome back to my Completionist playthrough of Icewind Dale, done in a Purist style, on insane difficulty. Today, we start our first big adventure, going into the Vale of Shadows, a very memorable place and a true classic from Icewind Dale. And to finish our preparations, I have conjured up the good berries, just one set for now, so a total of 3, and we'll see how it goes. We'll get a feel of whether that's enough or not. I've also selected the appropriate spells for us to memorize, and now we will be ready for a rejuvenating rest before our journey. So let us treat ourselves to this noble room, the highest quality available, and now we shall be ready to venture forth.
All right.
And so into the Vale of Shadows we go, and here we will have a chance to soak in a little bit of its atmosphere and ambience of the place. During a little explanation, because when it comes to how to tackle this adventure, normally it's a pretty straightforward affair, where you just simply go from crypt to crypt and clear the whole area, gather some keys in the process, and then you are ready to progress. But in our situation, we'll have an opportunity to do something different and approach things in a more non-linear way, and I will go with that more unconventional route for a multitude of reasons, mostly gameplay-related ones, but there will also be some role-playing justifications, a little mini-story that will make sense and will tie things together. And in that vein, starting with the RP bit, first, so after hearing many warnings about the dangers of the Vale, and everyone advising caution, our first task will be to scout around and clear the main pathways, see what we're dealing with, and plan our actions from there. So we will exercise caution in this first excursion to the Vale, and we also want to prioritize looking for Myric's brother, Silas, or his remains, and retrieving their family heirloom. That's the only real assignment we have for now, besides the more vague objective of finding the supposed evil lurking in the Vale of Shadows. So that's it for now, but there will be a little bit more of those role-playing justifications later in this episode. But now, when it comes to the gameplay reasons, a few of our characters are very close to leveling up, and that's especially relevant for our arcane casters, and then Galburin a little further down the line. For him, his level up will not only give him some more spell memorization slots, but primarily it is going to improve a certain mechanic, this bad boy right here, Turn Undead, that we will not use yet, but we will in the near future, in the upcoming episodes, so he will be more proficient in that area. But when it comes to both Iris and Nadimastria, their next level up will unlock access to level 2 arcane magic, which is great. However, related to it is the fact that we have no resources for a proper scribing session for Iris. We need both intelligence boosters and some more spell scrolls. And we're going to get exactly that very soon. Also, the fights are a little bit different in the outdoor areas and the crypt interiors. So before switching to an assortment of spells better suited for those close-quarter battles in the tombs, and before adding the level 2 spells, we can use our current setup to clear out the outside primarily. And also fighting the living and the undead will affect our spell selections, of course. And speaking of Iris's spell options, it is high time for her to learn some new spells and expand her arcane horizons. And on that note, last thing I wanted to explain. Last episode I mentioned the possibility of gambling on a more useful level 1 spell for Iris, because for now she is stuck with this useless sleep memorized. There is literally one single creature susceptible to this spell in this whole chapter. All the others are immune to the effect by either being undead and having a natural immunity, or by being at least level 5. So I thought about buying the Chromatic Orb scroll Auric has, and trying to scribe it raw, but I ultimately decided against it. Iris is a risk-taker, and she's done that before with sleep, but here we have to be reasonable. We remember from Baldur's Gate 1, the priest Tremaine Beldar scolding his son Cassong, reminding us that Timora doesn't endorse dumb luck or foolish risks. And in our case, in the prologue, when we scribed sleep without any intelligence boosters, it was because there was a substantial upside to it, and there was no other choice for how to conduct it, as there are no scribing supplies during that time of the game. Now, however, we will have a way to guarantee success, and we'll just have to wait a bit longer. Also, it would have been a shame to waste that Chromatic Orb scroll if she failed scribing it. It's not the last one, but it would be a while until we could get another. So in this episode, Iris will limit her combat actions to singing, and she will start right now because we will finally get underway. And we will, for now, ignore this side path and focus our exploration on the main pathway here. And we will be met with immediate resistance. Here we have to take these 2 Yetis. And we will have the last appearance, for now, of Color Spray during this occasion. We have used this spell quite a bit thus far, and we will switch to something else in the future. But here I thought it would be interesting to show its third property, when the difference between the caster and the affected monsters is at least 3 levels, and that is indeed the case here, because Nadimastria is level 2 still, and the Yetis are level 5, so if they fail their saving throw, they will be stunned for 1 round, which is still a good effect, even though a bit short in duration. But yes, let us unleash the spell. Unfortunately, they are both stunned, and we have to get to work immediately, because we have a lot of hit points to burn through on these Yetis. They're also quite dangerous in melee when they are active. Not so much perhaps because of the damage per hit they do, it's only 1d6, so even on our settings, their max roll doubled will be 12 HP, which will be something that Rintar will be able to survive. But they have 2 attacks per round at a very good Thaco at this point in the game. So, well, fortunately, we have avoided these 2 attacks he was still able to make. And we already have 3 level ups to take care of. So before we get going with anything else, let's do that. So Brey will become a level 3 thief. So this is an increase of from 1 to 3 hit points for her and some thieving skills. So let's see which one it is. Well, that was to be expected. And now I think we will go for 1 more level up, boosting up these utility skills. But as you will see, the requirements for opening locks and find traps are well below what we have already leveled up on Brey. But before we, start out some heavy investments in stealth, perhaps, we will boost these skills. We also, as Completionists, will get an item that will upgrade both of these skills. Not an important one, but, for completionism and for upgrading it, we will want to showcase that. So perhaps that kind of spread between open locks and find traps is still the case here in this level up. And now, for Iris, we will gain access to those level 2 spells, but also for her, importantly, a roll from 1 to 6 to determine her health points will be crucial. Of course, we remember her previous level ups and her pathetic health total, but well, let's see what's it going to be this time. Is it going to be 3rd time's the charm? Wow, what an amazing progression. She's going to barely make it to the double digits, having 10 hit points in total now. She doubled the HP from her previous level ups of 1, now deciding to do the unthinkable and go for 2 HP. Of course, her lore is going to increase. Her pickpocketing increases, access is unlocked to those level 2 spells, and she even gets a proficiency point. And I thought that on her, her basic needs are completely met with the proficiency points she already has spent here, and the other ones don't really matter, because for defensive purposes, of course, proficiency doesn't matter. It's only for offensive means, and if she's going to attack, it is mostly going to be with that crossbow, but I thought it would be an appropriate idea to go for the more kind of exotic, rare weapons on her. That will kind of fit her role-playing, curious background of, studying lore of various interesting items and maybe wanting to learn how to use them. Also being the daughter of a military man, even some of those more heavy-duty weapons, I guess, won't be out of place when it comes to her using them. And the bastard swords here will be a perfect pick in many of those areas, because if you remember my explanations from the intro episodes, this is exactly that type of weapon category that is almost entirely based on random drops. So we can't really count on getting any, but in case we do, a lot of them are pretty cool with some decent on-hit effects. And I do have an idea for her wielding a bastard sword in a certain situation, so let's get that underway already. And now finally, Nadimastria. Also, the most important thing is going to be the spell increases, but when it comes to her hit points, of course, a reminder from 3 to 6 this time, because she does have that 16 constitution. All right, a solid level up. We can count on Nadimastria and her rolls. I think her previous one was 4, this one is 5. All right, some solid HP. And of course, those spells that we will delve into soon. Now let's take Brey to pick up those Yeti pelts. For some future uses, spell uses, I guess it is also important to note about these Yetis that they have a negative 50 fire resistance, which means that they take 50% more damage from fire sources, which is going to be really cool. They are even demonstrating the rare kind of morale failure. They are kind of a primary monster to whom that happens, I guess. Now, I haven't yet activated Rintar's protection from evil, because the Yetis are neutral aligned, and also even now that we are going to get into some undead fights, still we are not going to get a full 100% benefit out of this protection from evil, because Icewind Dale is well designed in that regard and pretty accurate when it comes to alignment, picking the correct alignments for the different creatures, and a lot of the lower tier undead creatures like skeletons and zombies are actually neutral aligned. Because of course they are just mindless vessels of the necromantic power that commands and sustains them. Evil alignment is more appropriate for those higher level types of undead, who are more sentient, more aware. And they indeed will be evil aligned, as will those lesser shadows that we will meet here. They have 10% resistance to all physical damage, so that, on bigger hits they might resist like 1 damage. We might sometimes see that on the crit or something like that. But generally, they also have an on-hit property that they can curse you with bad luck, which means just -1 Paco, and I would like to take them one by one. To perhaps even engage a little bit into melee. We have built up a bit of a health pool already on Rintar. These monsters here we can oftentimes take one by one, and they don't do that much damage per hit, so if we are fast to react, we should be able to take a hit here and there and just sustain that damage. There's always going to be 3 of these lesser shadows guarding each tomb. And yeah, here we are going to stray a little bit from the main path. And the party will be curious about this crypt here, but well, we'll get to all of the developments in due time. But this is a really, really important one for us to visit in gameplay, from a gameplay perspective, because there's some incredibly important loot to get from there. Now, next thing that I haven't yet addressed are the formations you see here. There's actually way more of them. If you right-click, you have quite a selection there, suiting various situations and preferences. For general play, I favor the default formation because of a couple of reasons. A lot of these other formations here basically are not very realistic to use in a dungeon-oriented game like Icewind Dale or Baldur's Gate 2. A few of them are very wide and kind of stretched, more fit for the very open areas of Baldur's Gate 1, with all of its outdoors wilderness exploration and whatnot. And I favor mostly the default one for general play because it's very practical. It's compact enough to work in narrow corridors and similar surroundings. But the party members aren't that close to each other, which helps with pathfinding compared to some other formations. And it's also functional with those 3 rows, clearly defined frontliners and some guys in the back. But yeah, there's quite a selection. And I will sometimes use or change the formation. Here you have to look closely. The kind of silver dot here reflects where the party leader is going to be located in each formation, and I'm going to switch to this triangle because I am going to sometimes use that kind of thing, mainly when entering a new hostile area, kind of with an autosave that forces everyone to get in together. And that's basically the only thing we can do in terms of affecting our starting positioning. So here we do want to have this this formation so that only Rintar will be in the focus of the monsters that are going to greet us immediately. And also, of course, heading into a tomb, we are going to bless ourselves. And I'm also going to move Nadimastria to position number 3, I think. And now we are ready to proceed. Alright, so here we are going to be greeted immediately by 4 skeletons. There's going to be 15 of them in total in this crypt. And if we move even an inch here, we are going to aggro another guy. And I think I am going to do it, just to showcase, yeah, that guy over there. So then 5 of these skeletons are going to approach. Now they are kind of deceivingly dangerous because they are weak defensively. Both their hit points, their armor class, and their save versus spell are very weak. Especially the save versus spell is like 19. So most spells should affect them. But their damage dealing potential is quite high because each one of them is going to get a random melee weapon from a certain selection. And that includes a couple of high quality variants. So weapons that will give them +1 taco, a bonus of +1 taco, and some weapons are simply just very damaging, like the two-handed swords, for example. They have the base damage of 1d10, so on a max roll that's going to be 20 damage on our settings, which Rintar is only going to be able to barely survive if he is 100% fully healed. So we do have to be careful when it comes to these skeletons. Let's allow them to bunch up a little bit and not move any more. Actually, Rintar, don't make any more steps here. I think he's going to move a little bit to the right, and here we are going to move in with Nadimastria to showcase this spell, Burning Hands, which is different from Baldur's Gate. It's nicely improved because in Baldur's Gate it's a single target spell, despite what the descriptions across the Baldur's Gate versions sometimes state. Sometimes they point out correctly that it's a single target spell, but sometimes they give you an impression that it's an AoE spell. But if you ever used it, you know that it's targeted on a particular creature, and then only that creature gets damaged, no matter how crowded the area might be around that creature. No one else is going to get damage. However, here it is a proper small AoE spell that also scales nicely with level. And now that Nadimastria is level 3, this spell is going to do from 7 to 9 damage. And considering that these skeletons have 8 HP, we might be able to one-shot some of them. And we need a bit of a boost in this kind of combat situation. So let's try that out. Very quick spell to cast. And we were able to kill 2 of them and severely damage another one. I did that a little wrong. Okay, this skeleton still was focused on Rintar, but I just wanted to pull Nadimastria out of there so that he doesn't think of switching targets. Alright, so this initial greeting is completed, but now we have a ghast approaching us. There's going to be 1 ghast and 2 ghouls, very similar creatures, although ghast is kind of like an upgraded version of a ghoul. They both can paralyze on hit. They are quite slow, or lending themselves very nicely to kiting. But yeah, they have like many attacks, especially the ghouls I think have 3 attacks per round, each with a chance of, paralyzing, which can be a death sentence. So here we are not going to take this guy. We're not going to underestimate his potential, and we are going to with casting a Sunscorch, we might already start shooting him from afar from our long-range attackers, and I think I'm even going to use Smite Evil here to add a little bit of damage so that he can't even make his way towards us. Alright, nice shot, Brey. Alright, and that Sunscorch didn't even need to do its full damage. I don't think he was able to save against it. So, alright, we are in the clear. Now we can move out a little bit and aggro some more of these skeletons and kind of take them in smaller groups. I'm trying to pay attention whether any of them is wielding a two-handed sword. And yeah, this guy was. Alright, here we have a ghoul and another skeleton. The ghoul we will absolutely not approach in melee. Alright, he was dealt with. Might also pick up this guy from the corridor. Alright, just a quarterstaff on this one. Been quite fortunate with our combat rolls so far. Not having received any damage on Rintar, which is fortunate. We do have some healthy snacks, of course, in our backpack. But, you know, there's many fights ahead of us. Oh yeah, let's switch back to our proper formation. And let's have Rintar bring some more fellas for us to fight. Yeah, we might, you know, attempt a little bit more melee than so far in previous episodes, because like in the future fights we are going to have to be more avoidant again, but here in those certain situations where we can tackle them in smaller groups, we might, you know, risk it a bit in some melee fighting. The two-handed swords are also important because of their value. Yeah, 3 of them. They sell for 15 gold, so we are going to get to looting soon, because yeah, first let's do one more thing that I would like to do is well, first off, let us make note of the fact that we can inspect a lot of things here. This tomb is becoming dilapidated, kind of falling into ruin. We have this this collapsed surface with water drops falling down, and this is going to hypnotize Brey, basically. With her proclivity of getting into trouble, she is going to do something here. And I kind of picture it as if this was kind of like a horror movie with, you know, the camera slowly zooming in on some type of effect like that, just hypnotizing the protagonist, the suspense building and building, the tension rising. Until, you know, some kind of jump scare, the culmination of that tension happens. But yeah, we are going to, you know, keep inspecting the crypt now that we have defeated its guardians, and kind of, you know, trying to inspect our surroundings. And Brey here is not going to be too careful and is going to step on this pressure plate, which is going to activate a trap. This is an undetectable trap that results in an ambush. And I really like how it's done in the Vale of Shadows. There are a couple places like that, where it's simply an ambush, but in a form of that kind of trap where you get the message and the sound effect, and you feel like, oh crap, I triggered the trap, and, you know, now there are these enemies coming. I am going to rant on this, or about this in Chapter 3, where these ambushes aren't handled all that well. But anyway, here also, being kind of underground or maybe in the mountain, the guardian instincts of Galburin will kick in. His Barakor senses, and he will suddenly feel assured that something is about to go wrong. And here he is going to utter a chant to his god Gorm Golfin. And this spell is the same mechanically as it is in Baldur's Gate. However, it carries an additional 2 downsides for the caster, for the cleric casting it. But anyway, when it comes to its use, it has both a buffing component for us and a debuffing component for the enemies if they are present nearby. And it is going to boost us with a +1 bonus to our attack rolls, our minimum damage rolls, and our saving throws. And there's also a component that is not that reliable. There's been a lot of debate about the particular implementation of this, but we should receive some, you know, a little bit less of spell damage, I guess, when we are buffed up with chant. Also, this this +1 bonus to attack rolls is not going to be reflected in our character sheet like the song or bless are. So here you can see ability bonuses, because that's the Bard's song improving his Thaco from his base 20 to 19. But chant is not reflected here. It is just a direct bonus to our attack rolls. So if you have your attack rolls enabled, you will see that there is that +1 bonus applied. So it still works in that way. Just you know, still gives us basically the same effect, just in a different way. And of course, we can also debuff the enemies with this spell, but it's good enough if you're just going to use it before combat, just as a pre-buff. But sometimes we will get its full benefit, and we will try to do so here. But yes, in Icewind Dale, it carries these downsides here, that it reduces the movement speed of the cleric by 50% for the duration, and it also prevents spell casting, which is pretty huge. However, like I said, Galburin will feel that something is not right here and will start casting it. As Brey steps onto this pressure plate. And I am also going to recreate a meme here. Because I love D&D memes. And there's that kind of classic one about a bard playing a flute, well, even more than one. And here basically like two will apply. We have this Merry Shorthorn, of course, and seeing that these opponents, showed up and now disappeared temporarily, but they are going to come back in a moment. Iris is immediately going to feel the necessity of giving us even further buffs, and she's going to play its song to unleash the Bless effect. All right, and here they are. Now we are going to also, because this is a pretty dangerous ambush. We have 4 of these guys in very close quarters. Of course, normally you can just leave your party wherever and just trigger them if you know what's coming, but I kind of wanted to do it this way, so it's a little bit more spicy. But yeah, we are going to start acting immediately. We are going to present yet another new spell here, Alicorn Lance. This is a level 2 spell of a druid. And it might seem a little bit lackluster compared to Sunscorch in some regards, especially when it comes to this debuff it applies. It's just -2 penalty to the armor class of the target for 3 rounds, compared to, the possible blindness of Sunscorch. That, of course, bestows much greater combat debuffs on the target. However, this is still a nice spell because the strength of this spell comes from the fact that it's mostly guaranteed. This effect always happens. It is not subject to a saving throw. And when it comes to its damage, it says here that the damage is reduced by half as a save versus spell is done, but it's actually not true. It's only reduced by 1/3 because the 2d6 out of this whole 3d6 points of damage is guaranteed. So 2d6 and the debuff, the only thing that the saving throw does is reduce it by a possible 1d6 damage. And it's also an interesting spell. It's one of the first ones that deals physical damage, and there's going to be many more of those in Icewind Dale. But it's interesting to see here that it deals piercing damage, so it's not going to be effective against skeletal undead, which is also, of course, the fact why Rintar is using this Morningstar here, for example. Because of course it deals crushing damage, and that's the only type of physical damage that skeletons are not 50% resistant to. But anyway, so we are going to cast this Alicorn Lance on this one guy, and we are going to prepare Nadimastria to unleash another Burning Hands. We are not going to take our chances with all of these guys, and here we have Rintar positioned. Perhaps he is going to be able to kite these 2 guys. No, not if I move like that, but kite them outside. And now you can see that, we have gained the boost from Chant, and this dark animation on them. It means that, well, at least these 2 were debuffed. The other 2 were not in line of sight of Galburin. But they at least now have reduced attack rolls, which is what matters for us here. Alright, also Brey and Galburin are going to start attacking. Okay, now Bless triggered, we can reactivate our song. And now that they are nicely bunched up, we can unleash our Burning Hands and hopefully get some damage in. Alright, nice. One of them saved, but we were able to kill one already. And now we can just continue our attacks as Galburin is using his defensive techniques to... to avoid being attacked by these other lesser shadows. Now let's focus our attacks. You were able to see that Galburin is really slow under the effect of this spell, and he got hit once, and now he has that bad luck, which, like I said, it's just a -1 Thaco penalty. Okay, since we have 2 of them, I don't yet want to step into melee with Galburin. But once we get rid of one of them, alright, now let's just engage them directly. Oh, and Galburin got hit by 10 damage. Yeah, even though these monsters here in the Vale usually don't deal so much damage per hit, of course they have improved Thaco and oftentimes improved amounts of attacks they deal per round compared to what we've faced before. Alright, let's bring him back here and let's finish him off, please. Alright, so Now, since it's 10 damage, I've also memorized something else new. This episode has a lot of new magic that I want to present, I guess. But here, I memorized this level 2 heal. That these don't exist in Baldur's Gate. Both the cure moderate wounds as well as the cause moderate wounds. Healing for 11 hit points, or the cause moderate wounds deals 11 damage, or 6 if it's reduced with a saving throw. But yeah, we are likely never ever going to memorize this heal again, but I thought, here, before we start memorizing some more powerful spells, this is also going to be the case with Galburin's selection, as you'll see later. We do have some suboptimal spells that I wanted to showcase here while we have the chance. And yeah, let's use this heal on Galburin. That's why I mean on Rintar, that's why I didn't really want to heal him immediately. And here we have 4 damage to heal, so we might use the... We have 2 smaller heals on Rintar. We have 5 damage healed by Cure Disease and 6 by Lay on Hands. So let's use this Cure Disease. We're not going to use, need it for its disease curing properties. So now we are fully healed up. And now, after all this, we... while we still have this chant, I wanted to also use this buff. Although it's probably going to run out. That's a little bit bad execution of my plan. I wanted to first disarm these traps beforehand, and then once we have this chant going, I wanted to finish off the last 2 monsters. They are absolutely not necessary, any buffs for them. It's just a skeleton and a ghoul. But just for it to make sense, while Galburin is so slow. Well, now it doesn't matter anymore. All of the best laid plans don't really work out so well when you get to recording videos, I guess. But yes, let's bring them over then.
Here. Orders?
Even you had to... Oh, Rintar, don't you kite that way, my dude.
I am listening. Got it.
All right. I'm certainly not going to engage that guy in melee. All right, here, let's use our Lay on Hands here. And we're going to be at 19 out of 21. Well, hopefully in the next encounters, there shouldn't be anyone hitting us for more than 19 in one hit. So we should be able to survive just fine. Here, there's a sacrificial table. Some more destroyed things. But here, we are going to get a scroll with another heal. That Galburin can hold on for now. And here we should be able to identify this leather armor +1. So finally Brey is going to be able to put something on. For a little while. We are going to get a different armor for her soon. And now let's also loot this container. Here we have a key, 2 scrolls, and a potion of healing. We have a remove fear for Galburin, and identify scroll for our arcane scroll case, and this interesting key that we are going to speak about more later. And then finally the third container to loot here is going to contain our random drop. So let us discuss that before we open and see what it is exactly. So it's going to have 1 out of 4 items for weapons. The one I place on the first position on the list, so technically like the best for us, I guess, the finest longsword. So, it's technically the only usable drop for us, so I guess it goes here. It's similar to the high quality weapons, but of an even higher craftsmanship standard, I suppose, providing +2 Thaco. But otherwise it is a non-magical weapon. However, there are longswords +1 coming up very soon after this point, and this item sells the worst out of the bunch for only 100 gold. So looking at the list from a gold making perspective, the next drop would be the best. And that would be the Halberd of Sparks. It's a magical item, +1 enchantment, nice for a halberd user, has a chance to deal some extra damage, and it sells the best for almost 700 gold at Conlan's. By the way, this halberd and all the other weapons we'll discuss go for much more in Chapter 3, but it would be a long wait to get that extra cash. Chapter 3 is far away at this point. And the amounts here are still significant enough to matter for us and make it worth selling already to get some useful items in the near future. So I'll talk about Conlan's prices here. Next on the list would be the Flawless Two-Handed Sword. Same idea as the Finest Longsword, a non-magical weapon with a +2 Thaco bonus. Decent for a two-hand sword user, of course, for now. And sells for 275 gold, so not bad. And last on the list will be the Huge Longbow. This is like an uber composite longbow, trading the +1 Thaco, typical for longbows, for even more damage, giving +3. So a skilled archer will be able to do some nice work with it already, like this early in the game. However, this one requires 18 strength instead of 15, which is the standard amount in Icewind Dale for composite longbows. And it sells for 125 gold, so it's last for us for that reason. Well, let's see what we're going to have here. Now, it's the Flawless Two-Handed Sword, but this is an incredibly important sarcophagus to loot, because we have two very important scrolls and one of the potions of genius we desperately need to conduct that scribing session on Iris. So these are going to go into our arcane scroll case. This maybe Iris can hold on to some weapons. And yeah, now there's going to be a lot of weapons on the ground. There might be some high quality variants. They have a smaller icon in the enhanced edition, so they are easy to recognize, but there weren't any here. However, I am going to put a lot of these weapons here into this container, just so that they can be available here later. Once we, in between episodes, I can come back here later and, loot them, sell them off camera. And now there might be some other skeletons. No. All right, I'm just gonna put them for now into that container so that they are safe there. And we'll see about carrying them to Kuldahar later. All right, and now after visiting this crypt, speaking more in role-playing terms again, we can kind of confirm that hordes of undead seem to have risen in the Vale of Shadows indeed. And before we delve deeper into exploring those crypts and fighting such opponents, we want to make sure the outside pathways are safe and cleared of danger. Once we have the area secured, we'll turn our attention to the tombs. We have also found that key inside, which we will ask Girth about. We of course remember that townsperson telling us that Girth seems to have a lot of knowledge about the tombs of the Vale of Shadows, and maybe he will be able to tell us something more about what this key is going to be used for. But yeah, wow, looking at the time, I think we are going to start from this position in the next episode. There are quite a few different fights and all the different places I still want to explore before we move to the second phase of our Vale of Shadows exploration, I guess. So for now, this is going to be it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.